So then they say, get away from me. You say, eu não posso resistir.
And they're just like, listen. I told you I don't have any change, but I'll go inside, and when I come back out, I'll give you whatever I got.
Right, but at that point, they're really desperate because you just say, I can't resist. I can't resist. Right? Eu não posso resistir. Okay. So then, at that point, you know, you're just trying to appeal to their better sides. You just tell them straight up in English. You got me saying la da 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 da. And you know why that is? It's probably because he knocked him out at that point. So he just, you know what I'm saying?
Take care of business as a domestic terrorist. Is
right.
What we do.
So you know, that's a beautiful way to get somebody to talk to you.
Yeah, man, get acquainted. Shout out to 75 South and all the rest stops that way. And shout out to Central America and the bridge to South America, which then gets us to Brazil.
Right.
Which is the closest way we can speak Portuguese.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, what's so interesting, I don't know if either one of us have ever known Portuguese besides those few lyrics. Because you say you like that song.
I love that song. And I know what Fale Português means. I've spoken to people who speak Portuguese. You know, It's funny. I've met a lot of Brazilians, and I don't speak Portuguese, but I speak French. And they get it for some reason. They actually understand what you're saying. I don't know if it's just because it's close enough and they're more open to speaking more languages or whatever. Or maybe they're just entertaining me and they're just like, this guy is just hilarious. But they liked it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but not Portuguese. I don't know that one.
I actually went on Google. I went on Google Translate to try to figure out how to say, because people that speak Portuguese probably know how to rhyme it just as easily as we can rhyme English, right?
Do songs in other languages rhyme?
Right, yeah.
Do they?
Right, yeah.
I have listened to a lot of anime intros and outros. Don't rhyme.
But they don't rhyme.
That's Japanese. I said other languages though.
Right. Spanish, you know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. They do rhyme.
I'm just saying you have a better chance at rhyming in your own language than I do in rhyming in Portuguese without knowing it.
This is correct.
So Google Translate, I had to rely on them. But it's interesting because you have to go, what word? What do I want to say, and then how to make it rhyme? Which is why the only thing I could say is come talk to me and converse with me, my love.
That makes sense.
And converse or converse.
Right, yeah.
And but that's pretty cool. That's interesting that you like that song, man. I've never recorded that song.
That's crazy because I've literally been asking for that song for years, man.
Right.
When you performed at Smith's, I was asking for that song.
Right.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. We've known each other for a long time. So, the basis of how did we get to know each other? That's an interesting story. How we got to know each other. Like
that is.
We are brothers-in-law.
This is true.
And beyond, but that's very interesting.
I don't think that most in-laws. I don't think that the American trope of in-laws is that they get along or hang out with each other.
Right.
Because that would kind of not violate the law of blood being thicker than water, but it's just like, how common is it that you find somebody who the blood they can't change,
right,
but the water is dope enough that I would have chosen this without you.
Right.
How often does that happen? You know what I mean?
How often do you find, you're saying in the friendship between you
right.
and your brother-in-law? Yeah, that's because how often do you find it in general?
Right. I don't
be thrust upon that, like for that to be thrust upon you by the virtue of you being with the person that's related to the person I'm with, I have to be around you.
But it worked. Right. Yeah, but it works out. I think the in-law is it's a term that most Americans normally put in the category of like negative. You know, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, whatever. But so yeah, it works out.
I want to touch.
We need to go back.
I want to touch a little bit on the story.
Yeah.
Because this story is very interesting to me. In fact, you know, our one of our producers on this brand new podcast, Jabri, he's also a brother-in-law of ours, and we've come together to make this podcast. And Jabri and I, we've been friends since high school, many years. And one random day, we moved into the city, and when we got into the city, we wanted to be into the scene, the art scene, the music scene. So we would just go to like Little 5 Points and all that in Atlanta, because that's where we are in case you're not in Atlanta. But Little 5 Points.
I mean, you got East Atlanta, Little 5 Points, North Highland, all that area, Ponce.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where we were, and one day Jabri goes, "Oh, okay. I met this girl at an art gallery. And she invited me to like some art gallery, and it was Drinking Doodle."
So I was working at ABV, and I recognized Sarah.
Mm.
And we were both like, "Oh, you went to Grady."
Right.
And we were talking, and then that's how I met Salah, and then from there,
Oh, okay.
it went into
Okay.
But then, well, go ahead.
Yeah. So long story. I mean, because it's a long story short. Because we got to get to how
how I come into this
right.
picture.
But
Because
this is the prerequisite, right? Because without this, So at this point, me, Sarah, who's my wife, then we just all started hanging out. And the first day I remember meeting you, we're hanging out. We're like me and Sarah like sitting on the counter. Jabri and Howard, his wife, were hanging out, and we were all just chilling there. And Sarah's mom was like doing tarot card readings or something, and you came in like either an Adidas tracksuit or a polo button to the top with some slacks.
Both my swag, yes.
And you were kind of taken aback by the situation because we were very hippied out at the time. But I thought you were cool, man. That's all I remember. That was the first interaction I remember having with you.
It was a timing thing. I think it was meant to meet you guys at the right time because I had met Salha in 2000. I have to do math on this one. 2000 must have been 2005. I met her, which is 15 years ago, almost 16, right? Man. And I had a girlfriend at the time. I was in high school, but when I saw Salha, I liked her immediately, and we worked together for a couple years, and then went our both different ways. I went off to college. She went off to college, but we always hung out through the entire thing. So I always had a connection with Salha specifically. She was always my homie, away from all my homies. So like. Right. All of my church friends are one group. All of my high school friends are one group. All of my college friends are one group. But I have this one friend who I met in high school, who is separate from all of these circles, who I just kept in touch with. And so, not even just kept in touch with, would want to hang out with and everything like that. So, friends since 2005, go all the way until 2011. I started trying to approach her. She's dating other people. And then 2012, we finally get together. And that's when we finally meet each other. And I come on the scene as this sort of sportive dude working for Adidas who don't really know anything about hippie culture or hipster culture. Just I don't know anything about living loose because I went to a private Methodist university here in Atlanta, and everybody who goes there either ends up as a journalist on the news or working as a lawyer or working as a doctor or whatever. And I didn't do that path. So like to meet this free flowing sort of group allowed me to see a side of life that I don't know. I feel like I was meant to see, and I feel like it worked out real well. Right. So that was 8-9 years ago.
Right.
So, yeah, and here we are.
But see, but what was your first? What was your true and honest? I mean, you said you weren't really into all that, but you didn't know about it. What were you really feeling?
But then, see, here's the thing. Because when we met in 2012, I would have been 24 or 25 years old, right? I could drink. By 24 or 25, I know how to drink. I know how to handle myself. But also by 24, 25, that's pretty much all I'm concerned with is what's on the scene.
Right.
What's the party? What's the next thing? Where's the life? And so you guys were different than the expensive going to Thrive, going to Velvet Room, going to all the places I used to go to it was Thursday, I'm at this. Oh, it's Friday, I'm at this, whatever. Right. It was a different vibe, and it was a different vibe that was more individualistic, more individual based.
Right.
And you don't have to fall in with everybody else, which is great because I was always a weirdo, even where I came from. I grew up. This is too much. We were just talking about how we met each other, but I kind of have to say this. I'm first generation American, right? My family's from Jamaica. Both my parents moved here with green cards in the 80s. And depending on my family, depending on when you were born, you're either born in Jamaica or Miami or Atlanta. I grew up southeast of Atlanta, so I grew up in I grew up on 8.4 acres. My neighbors had horses. It was farmland that we lived on. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up in a very white. When I moved into when I moved into the city that I grew up in, there were only 4,000 residents there, and they were all white. We were the first black family there. So like coming into the city of Atlanta, which is black, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And not really having a black sensibility about me. I was looking for a group that was alternate. You know what I mean? Because I don't fit in with the Velvet Room crowd, and I also don't fit in with the Buckhead crowd. Because by the time I got out of high school, I realized like, yeah, I've dealt with enough years of being the odd one out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, because you had the Jamaican culture, so from that, it was like a strict culture, like very
not only was it was Jamaican and it was Seventh Day Adventist, so it was like it was strict.
Right. So you go from that to try to jam out in the clubs to then seeing us like.
But it's more comfortable.
Super dippy.
But it's more comfortable there than it is in the clubs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because
So from there, that to me is very interesting of a story because one, you've got two guys that are friends, meeting girls, who the only one with an attachment that would last would be Salha, your fiance, and then. Given the circumstances, I mean, because at the time that we met you, I think we had a very tight knit kind of culture, like very small, tight knit. Like we just hung out with each other outside of work and other things. I mean, we hung out with other people, but typically it was as a unit a very tight packed unit. Well, when me and you did that?
That was more like I feel like. Yeah, we did that, and it was more like a breeze. Like, you know, we were just kind of hitting the scene. We had moved in town.
Right.
We were breezing through these places. Like, I think that's how I remember ABV being, like, one of those first places where we were kind of introduced to the Atlanta crowd. And it was that alternative crowd.
Fixie bikes and, like...
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we hopped right into all that.
Yeah, fixie bikes and skateboards and everybody wearing Vans, smoking cigarettes, skinny jeans. Right. Here's the thing.
Just
see, that
like
was
fireball shots and
that
like
was so
Corona or like PBR.
That was so out. It was right outside of where I was. See, because I worked for Adidas.
Right.
Right. And I say it that way because I worked for Adidas. Right. I worked for Adidas for 8.5 years. And because it is such a transplant company in this city. The culture again was not of this city, so I'm just a transplant. Even though I was born in Crawford Long, right? But I never felt home to the city. So like to see PBRs and fireball shots, leather jackets and motorcycles and fixed gear bicycles and skateboards and stuff like that, it's just like great. I do not have to be Jermaine Dupri out here because I can't be. I cannot be Jermaine Dupri in Atlanta, and that's what everybody else was on. In 2010, 2012, it's just like. It's like you're wearing skinny jeans. It's like you're a jerk.
Right.
It's
like I was jerking.
Exactly. I wasn't jerking. I was not jerking. That's what I'm saying. Even back then, I wasn't jerking. I knew how to Dougie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Man.
I knew how to Dougie, and that's it.
But so we met. Because Sarah and I and Hal and you Hal and Sarah. Now look, I just have to preface this right now. The kind of things that I stand for at this point would say that this next statement I don't necessarily condone. I can't judge you if you do it, but I don't condone it. My girlfriend at the time, Jabri's girlfriend at the time, which by the grace of God became our wives down the line, pretty much were living with us. They weren't necessarily living with us because their moms lived in an apartment complex literally right across. I mean, you know this, right across the street. Not even the street, just the parking lot.
Yeah.
And they ended up being heavily at our place. Therefore, Saha was there because they were sisters, tight knit bond, and so you were there. And to me, the first instinct I had was, "Oh my gosh, this guy is smart." Like I'm a musician. I'm out here in the scene. I'm trying to get shows. I'm trying to make I'm like, this guy is brilliant. He just has very a wide range of knowledge. You know what I mean? I speak the Spanglish. Hola, bienvenidos a. And you're like, right, the rest of the sentence. And right. But yeah, man. Long story short, we have experienced a lot, led to these smiles. We've experienced a lot of smiles, joy, and laughter in our relationship with one another, and I think that's led to this podcast because this is the extent of the conversations. Like, the structure of this podcast is not very structured, but the structure is you and I have these conversations. Jabri chimes in, which is almost exactly real life, right? Like,
I'd like a chime sound.
Right.
No, we need to get him a
we
gong,
need some
right?
sounds. We need sounds because here's my thing about the podcast, right? And here's why I want to introduce ourselves, and this is why I want to do. I want to introduce ourselves, tell our backstory a little bit because I want to get beyond all that and talk about not beyond all that, but there's so much. We talk about so much crazy, wild, interesting stuff, and I want to get to a lot of that stuff because we have different perspectives, and if we're vulnerable and honest, then we can touch on a whole bunch of stuff.
Sweet.
So we meet. This is one interesting thing. We start partying. I just have to double back.
Yeah.
We start partying because this is interesting. We start partying. We just listened to a song that had this lyric. It said, they ask us, "Are you paid to be here?" I'm like, "Oh no. We just get it popping.
We just get it popping." This is a true thing that used to happen. We partied all over the city.
All over the city.
And in multiple points in the first couple of years of us going out and partying all over the
Right.
city, we partied in such a way, to such a frequency and amplitude, that other patrons of the establishment
Right.
would say, "I'm sorry,
Yeah.
are you guys paid to be here?"
Right.
As in, you guys look like backup dancers, or are you paid by MTV
Right.
on a reality TV show?
Right. Can
You
it
guys
be
are really
that
doing
fun?
Can
in
it
here?
be that fun? You guys are really enjoying life.
Right.
Yeah. But we used to do that, though.
We used to do, and there's this one stuck with me. We're walking down Edgewood Avenue, and we're looking for a place to go jam, and we go to some place with the window. I forgot the name, but the windows, Nonies. It's all windows, and everybody's jamming in there, and it's a line. We're waiting in line, and we just start turning up in the line, and it got so intense. Like, we were going so in that people inside Nonies started looking out the window, and Noni was outside.
Outside now.
Yeah, everyone inside was like, "Oh," and we're taking turns, dance line, different stuff, and they're like, "Yo!" And then the funniest thing to me is we're going ham, everybody's attention on us, all this stuff, and then we just stop and walk away. It wasn't like so dramatic, but yeah, the attention was still on us when we said, "We're done." Like,
oh, well,
we're over.
on to the next thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the vibe. That was the vibe that, it's interesting because looking back, I was not necessarily in the brightest place, but the inhibitions, I guess, it's like in order to overcome this darkness I'm feeling, I lose all inhibition in order to experience fun.
I feel that.
Yeah.
My partying, by the time 2012, so I turned 21 in 2008. And by the time 2012 came around, my partying had gotten to a sophisticated level where, I hadn't done any like crazy drug. I'm not partying at like that level.
Right.
But it's just like, I have this down. Like, I will not have a hangover tomorrow. I'll be able to drink 12 servings of alcohol. I'll be able to talk to this person, make this appointment, everything like that, and then still be able to dance and and I had a regular routine. And here's how you know you were really partying. I had a regular routine Wednesday through Saturday, right? Not no Friday and Saturday.
Right.
Wednesday through Saturday, I had a night to be out. And because what was it? It was Wednesday was MJQ, Thursday was L Bar, Friday was MJQ if you want to go to hip hop, or you go to Crescent Ave, or you go to Local Luna.
Man.
And then Saturday was probably local Luna.
Right.
And then Sunday you just chill. And then Monday you go to work. And then, which is another thing. I didn't realize until looking back on it, we had a lot of free time back then.
A lot of free time. And yeah, a lot of free time. That's all I can say.
It wasn't necessarily utilizing except to say that I did, because now I have the memories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting. You what's the one you brought up something? If it slips my mind, I'll just let it go. But you were no, that time was just I don't regret any of the partying or anything, because
well, here's the thing. I don't regret the partying from 2012 on.
Right.
The partying between 2008 and 2012, I have some personals,
Oh,
but
man.
that's me personally.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, so we know each other, we're bonding, we're partying. Then we go, we must be entrepreneur. We have so many talents and gifts put together. We can do it. We can do something special. So what we do at that point? We did. Was it Creative Minds at that point that we all got on behind, or was it something like we all started working together?
CMLG.
CMLG, Creative Minds Lifestyle Group.
But
CMLG.
it was that one project, the plasma project.
Right,
Oh,
right.
Man,
That
y'all
was the-
really
Right,
okay.
we had a
All right,
project.
we digging though.
We had a,
Oh, we
we,
going
look,
in
we don't
though.
have to
Okay.
name no names, but
Oh, yeah.
we had a project together. We started working. Let's just start off with saying we started working on projects together.
Somebody who owned a blood.
No, somebody that owned a bloody. Here's why, because
My
bloody
bad.
gosh darn, because there's a kerfuffle that we had with this guy, and no, but here's the thing: because we have to give the whole context. We start doing business together. We get a client. This client wants us to build his brand.
But that's the thing. Yeah, I was just gonna say. We have to say what was the business. The business was marketing.
Marketing.
The business was marketing.
Right,
It was
we
to
were
build
doing-
his brand. Right.
Right.
So that's
we
the business.
were coming to build his brand, right? So, and we have various levels of commitment. I mean, just high levels of commitment to this shit. Now, I personally, I have to say that my level of commitment was tremendous. Now, it was not to say that's not a positive thing in this scenario. I got so committed that I quit my job because I'm like, we're definitely in the game. This client is big time. He said he had money. He said all these things. And then at the end of the day, wanted an entire bit, the whole business outside of what the business does, the whole presentation. We were doing everything: videos, concepts, creating characters,
All the way to t-shirts, bro. Yeah.
T-shirts, doing business meetings with outline, just to be like, oh, when I said I had the money, my partner totally ran off with the money, and can y'all just keep doing that for me? And when I get the money, I'm like, so we had that.
Right.
Then we had some other things. We had a juice bar, similar thing. We gonna do it. I'm gonna hit you with the money. We gonna rock money. All right.
Let's go put this work in.
Right.
Because that's the most work that I've ever said. That's the most. I've been in the corporate world for over a decade.
Right.
What we did for the juice, coffee press, all
Right.
that was the most Excel work ever done in my life.
Right. That was a lot
my
of
life.
work.
Yeah.
And it came up bust.
I know. Yeah. I still have those forms. I've reused those forms and
Right.
those formulas. That's
Right.
how much work we put in.
Right.
Right.
And that was a couple of years, I feel like, and we had a lot of different experiences that has made our coming together very interesting. It's made having conversations worthwhile, in my opinion. Like, this is the only reason. Like, yeah, I'm just saying this is the reason why I wanted to do this, for sure.
Now that you got Debris back and you're back, can I press pause on this? Because I really got to pee.
I do as well. Oh, wait. Before we all go pee.
Still haven't said our
Look,
names?
No.
We still haven't said our names.
Let's wait. We're gonna wait. But this is amazing. So, long story short, because I just want to get to this. What's going on right now with the pandemic, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
That has led to all of this. The pandemic has led to this, and I just want to, since we have to do what we've got to do right now,
Yeah.
I want to push play on something that's going to be very
turn up.
interesting and entertaining to kind of shift the gears to present day.
Right. It's Anthony Fauci freestyling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
If we got to make a point, we could just, boom, look at the same camera.
Or you can just look in between and just like an idiot on both. You know what I'm saying? Like,
We already look pretty
this is true.
strange.
We might look a little silly right now, but what we're doing isn't silly at all. We just want to make a public service announcement to tell everybody to please wipe from front to back when you are taking a shit. Wipe from front to back, because while everybody is concerned about this respiratory virus, you have to remember that E. coli infections are real. You don't want that Rhea Perlman, that diarrhea. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want
that.
And you know what's crazy?
Yeah,
Bacteria and things like that, man, they just are born and reborn every single day.
that's true.
Which is why it's so important to every single day for the rest of your life wear gloves and a mask.
It's true.
Oh my God.
the news will have you believe that the only thing that you have to worry about right now is having blue lips from pneumonia, because by then it's too late and you're going to end up in the ICU. But what you need to remember is that this is a wake-up call that we've been dirty for far too long. If you're that type of dude who goes into the bathroom and because you got people in the living room, you just turn on the sink and you just wait a second, or you look at something on your phone and then count to 20 and then turn it back off because you don't want to wash your hands, it's time to stop. Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you're the type of person who is super OCD and you walk around like this every single day, you were right and we were wrong. I'm dead serious.
It turns out that gingivitis is not just a disease of the mouth. It's actually a way that you can tell that people have a disease of their lungs.
That's the crazy thing about coronavirus, because it affects your eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. No more head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Sarah!
You put the chicken in the freezer? Did you?
This is why social distancing is so important. Even though she's yelling at me, I've got to stay 6 feet away, so it's all good. That video was funny. That is because it's comical, but it's so real.
This is true. Yeah.
For some people, it's super real. For others, it's not so real. But I think the spirit. It's interesting, the spirit we came in with when we did that.
Yeah.
Because this was like in the heart of the shutdown. Like everybody was out of work. I didn't have I was on unemployment. I think at that point you were on your entrepreneurial swag.
Right. I did this weird thing in 2019 in October where I had a mental breakdown at my job and decided to quit because I had been in the corporate world for 12 years and it wasn't working out. And and then after I quit my corporate job, one of the things that made me quit my corporate job was the fact that somebody else at that same job had quit.
Yeah.
He was a year older than me, and he was just like, bro, I make the same money that I make here doing Lyft. Right? So I was just like, okay, so it's possible. Maybe I just need to change my paradigm and get out there and go make money.
Mm-hmm.
So I quit my corporate job, and I was doing Lyft, Instacart, DoorDash, and Postmates.
Right.
Then when the pandemic hit in March, I realized that none of those were going to be tenable, or basically because of the way that everything sounded in the world, none of those were going to be tenable.
Right, that's way too close. I mean, based on, you know what I'm saying?
Just too close.
Yeah.
I got sick in January because late January 29th specifically, because I picked up this lady and she was taking her kid to elementary school, all this stuff, and her kid was sick in the car, and I like sick to the point where I pulled out a mask, which I already had, and I was just like, ma'am, I'm really sorry. Can I give this mask to your daughter? She's like, what you talking about? My daughter ain't sick. She got allergies. No. And I was just like, you both have allergies?
Right.
What's going on? Within a day, I was like 104 fever, like sick.
Oh, man.
And this was back in January. I've been tested every month since July.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do antibody tests, so I can't tell if I've ever had it, but so far I don't have it.
That's interesting. At that time, something similar. I was like, before I was on unemployment, I was working at Jackson's Music in Atlanta, and or out in like Riverdale. So I was freaked out. I was freaked out because once it went global, like when it was like, oh, it's in China, I was like, okay, that's interesting, that's wild. Then it's like, oh, it's in all these countries, and I'm at work, and at this point, we didn't have masks and gloves, and like I was desperate. Like I was like, this is nerve-wracking. So I would take these paper towels, fold them up, like scrunch them, you know what I'm saying? Hole punch the sides, put some rubber bands. Put that thing on, you know what I'm saying? I got me a little surgical mask.
Now that's
you know
wild.
What I mean? Yeah.
That's wild.
And this one time, this didn't get me sick, but this was how, this was a ridiculous situation, but I was on top of it because of what was going on. But guy comes into the music store, man, and he must be drunk or something. Because this guy, I'm talking to him, and all of a sudden he just, starts spitting. I said, bruh. And at this point, look, I had Lysol in my hand because I knew he was just touching everything. I had the Lysol already. He starts spitting. I start spraying. I'm like, bruh, you have to stop. So you got this dang on virus going around, all this stuff. Like I was through with it. So when it came down to the time where it was like, okay, you can go home and all that, and then and it was time to be locked down, I was okay with it. I was fine with it.
You'd been exposed to enough nonsense that you were just like, listen, I gotta cut that
I was like,
out.
because people don't take it serious. I was like, people, if you, at that point, it was like, we don't know nothing. So if you out here spitting and ain't no masks and gloves and like I was sanitizing that place all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that was my kind of like by the time we got together for that video, I was a little bit I've been at home, so I was like, I know we ain't got it.
Right.
But yeah, man, that was just very interesting. So like but that was just hilarious. Like that was off the rip. That video was just off the top of the head.
True. And when was that, May or June?
That must have been June, like May or June, like
May or June, and now we're all the way
right
in December,
in the middle,
so we
yeah.
made it through the year.
Right.
I've thought about this recently. I think that my panic at the beginning was unwarranted, but also not a bad thing.
Right. It
Because-
was warranted because of the lack of information.
Lack of information.
Right.
That's what made it warranted. Because
Right.
like I think about it, I was just like, we just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't been sick since then. But I really do carry this theory with me. I was just like, anybody who thinks at this point that they haven't been exposed to the virus,
Right.
I think that's not true.
Now in February, I mean, you remember this? We sang at the ballet,
Mm-hmm.
and the second week of the performance, man, I was dog sick, and I stayed away from everybody. I was like, look. And that's one thing. Be responsible, man. If you sick, stay away. I mean,
Please, man.
I mean,
Like,
I had
that's
to
all we
work.
can say.
I had to work, and the culture at that time was not freaking out about people being sick. It's just like you know what to do. So I had to teed everything, stayed away from everybody, and nobody else got sick because of me. But that was in February, and like a couple days before they said, "Oh, it's global. It's probably here already." But I think at the time, after we made that video, we were hanging out on the porch. I was playing the guitar, and we were talking because you're a smart guy, and we were sitting there, and you said something about the word like hypothesis or something like that, and then I was like, that's so dope because it's like Brian's hypothesis, and like, I grabbed the guitar and I was just like, right?
And I said that sounded just folk enough, just rustic enough, just simple enough that I was just like, I can rock with that.
Right.
We should rock with that.
Right. And at the time, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even know where it came from, but I was like, like it's like a lot's going on, but like it's okay. Like it's okay to talk about things and disagree or agree, or okay to be okay. You know what I mean? And so we're sitting there, we're hanging out, we're chilling, and we're sitting there, and it's just like, it's okay. And then it's funny, I don't know if it was you or somebody, or maybe it was my imagination, but it was like, it's okay. Bright hypothesis. And we were just giggling.
We just kind of went with that, yeah.
Right. It's like, yo, we should do that. Like, we should do something called like, it's okay, bright hypothesis.
Right.
And it's like, and then you're like, maybe not. Maybe I'll say that for something else. But then, I was just like, that concept is so dope that it's okay, because we're real people living life. Like, we're not ideals. We're not concepts. We're not stereotypes. We're just real people living. And right now, it's just a time where we're all able to reflect because of all these lockdowns, all these months of just wildness. We're able to just reflect on our lives. And that was the origin of It's Okay, the concept.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, It's Okay, the podcast, where I hope we can discuss everything.
Right.
And it's okay.
Yeah. There's a point of contention that could be covered. It doesn't necessarily need to be, because it's really not a point of contention anymore. Not because of the things that have happened recently in November and December, but just because we have come to conversation about it. But we may have some political differences.
Right.
We may have some religious differences. We may have some social differences, whatever they may be. But the concept of the podcast was to say, if we can, like we said before, if we've been homies for this long,
right,
whatever it is, you should be able to bring those two things together, because it's it doesn't define you as a person. It's just something you think. And then we just wanted a podcast where we could say that everything is okay, even if you disagree.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly.
So
this is gonna be fun.
yeah.
It's gonna be fun. And if you know us, you know us. If you don't, my name is Kevin,
I'm Brian.
and this is It's Okay.
It's okay.
We should hold the smiles like we're newscasters. Look at the camera for a while.
Right. Which camera did you be?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Hold it.